Story time about how my best friend was a snake. So a little background information, I was 15 and in 9th grade. And I've been best friends with this girl who we're going to call Callie since 5th grade. Well, fast forward to 8th grade, there was this guy in my class that I really liked. And obviously I told Callie about it because, like, duh, she is my best friend. And she has never talked to this boy. She never even knew who he was before I had told her about him. And by the way, we're going to call him Jake. Well, eventually him and I started talking and she was hyping us up. Like, she really wanted us to be together so bad. And I was really feeling the love and support. Well, not long after that, I had to move to another town for like 3 months because of my dad. So Jake and I, we stopped talking after me being gone for like 2 weeks. And of course, not long after that, one of my friends from home texted me. And she's like, hey, you know Callie and that guy that you were talking to, right? AKA Jake. Obviously, I say yes. Like for part 2. Part 2 about how my best friend was a snake. So like I said, I had to move away for 3 months because of my dad, and Jake and I, we stopped talking about 2 weeks after I had left. And then I get a text from my friend saying, hey, you know Callie and that guy that you were talking to, Jake? Obviously, I say yes. And then she goes, oh, well, they're talking about getting together. And I was livid. I'm like, dude, I've literally been gone for like less than a month and you're already trying to get with the guy that I liked. What the actual you know what? So I bawled my eyes out for like 2 hours straight. And then I decide that I'm going to confront her. And she literally says to me, like, she has the audacity to say that she's been in love with him for so long, even before I had told her about him. Which is a lie, because as I told you guys earlier, she didn't know this man. Well, anyways, Jake ended up friend zoning her, and she didn't even really apologize to me. She said sorry, but like, she didn't acknowledge the importance of the situation and how it made me feel. She just thought that saying sorry would make it all better.
Bear with me while I tell you guys about how I was almost kidnapped at Target. So my friends and I were celebrating one of my friend's birthday, and we went to this little arcade. Eventually we got bored, so we decided to go to Target, which is where we made a huge mistake. It was probably about like 9:39, and we pulled up to Target, and my friends and I were just shopping around and looking at everything when we noticed this guy following us. Now, initially, this guy did not look suspicious whatsoever. He was dressed very nice, he was wearing a polo, and had like a clean cut. But eventually, his stalking got a little creepy. So while we were in the makeup aisle, my friend and I were trying to get like this thing that was on the top shelf, and he came out of nowhere and grabbed it for us. And that's when he said something super creepy. I remember he said something along the lines of, oh, if you need help, just look for me. Like, homie, we are in a store full of workers that can help us. We do not need help from a middle-aged, balding man. My friends and I just initially ignored his weird remark until we realized that he was following us again. Keep in mind, it was late at night and we were all by ourselves, so we were a little freaked out. But my friends and I were just trying to have a good time, so we decided to go in like the food section to get some snacks for our sleepover. So my friends wanted to get some frozen foods and I was going to get some like cakes and like stupid junk food for us, so we decided to separate, which was a huge mistake. So I headed towards the bakery and my friends headed towards the frozen aisle, which is like in completely different sides of the store. And that's when I noticed out of my peripheral vision that the stupid little creepy old guy was following me. And so I picked up my muffins and my cupcakes and I turned around and he was right there, smack in front of me. And that's when he mumbled in the most chilling way possible, do you need help with that? It was just the way he said it so coldly and blankly that just like gave me chills. I said no and made up an excuse to leave, but as I was turning around, I noticed this guy was still lingering and following around me. So that's when I started texting my mom everything that was happening because I was super freaked out. Now, my mom didn't answer me because it was at 9:30 at night. I'm guessing she was like busy with something or maybe even asleep. And I just didn't know what to do, so I started heading to the frozen aisle where I knew my friends were. But I got this weird gut feeling telling me I needed to go to the register and like pretend to check out and leave, and so I did so. Which I am so glad I did, because when I went to the checkout, my friends were there. I don't even want to know what would have happened if I went to the frozen aisle where it was very secluded and close to an exit. But the story doesn't end from there, so like for part 2. Guys, part 2 of the story time about how my friends and I were almost kidnapped at Target. So where we left off, my friends and I met up at the self-checkout when we were just scanning our items, getting ready to leave. But that's when a worker who was similar to our age came up to us and she asked us if we needed escorted to our car. Obviously my friends and I were like, yes, and she walked us out to our car, and that's when we told her everything that was happening. And that's when she told us people reported him following us and other girls around the store. So as we were exiting the store, I turned around and I saw the security go up to this guy. So I turned around and I saw that security was stopping this guy, and that's when I found out that they called the police. When the police arrived, they searched his car and it found out that he had duct tape, handcuffs, and multiple weapons inside his vehicle. I'm going to put emojis of those weapons because I'm not sure I'm allowed to say them on TikTok. And so this guy was arrested because he also had illegal substances, and that's the last I know of him. He was on the news, and the next morning when my mom saw her text and what was on the news, she frantically called me and I told her everything and how the people at Target helped me. So I am forever grateful to those citizens who saw that something was wrong and told the authorities. But the moral of the story is to always trust your gut instinct, because I have no idea what would have happened if I went to the frozen aisle with this guy following me. And the frozen aisle was close to an exit and very secluded from cameras and stuff like that. But yeah, like for more story times.
Get ready with me and plus a story time about the time I found out the guy I was talking to had a kid. He is not older, he is my age, he is 16, and he has a kid, and that should already be a red flag. Okay, so I met this guy at my cousin's party, and we were dancing with each other. We're gonna call him M. So me and M were dancing with each other, and that's basically just like how we started talking. So basically time goes by, and I just feel like M is never gonna ask me for my Instagram. Like, we were talking and stuff, but I just feel like he's not gonna ask me for my Instagram. So I'm like, do you got a girlfriend? And then he was no. Well, like, I'm hoping you don't got a girlfriend. Like, you was just dancing with me. And then, so yeah, he's like, no. So then we followed each other on Instagram, and yeah. So something was happening, and I hear one of his friends say something about him having a kid, and I turn around and I'm just like, you got a kid? And then he was just like, nah, I don't. I was like, don't lie to me. And he was like, no, I don't. I was like, okay. I felt like I didn't have to double ask him just because like his age and like, he just didn't look like he had a kid. It's the next day and me and him are texting, and it's just going good, and I find out that like he's a D1 football player and like a bunch of stuff. And then we get to start talking about one of my friends, and I was just like, oh, that's like one of like my really good friends, like he's like my best friend. And he was like, yeah, I know him and stuff like that. And I was like, oh. Okay, so once I find out that he knows my friend, I go and I ask my friend, I'm like, hey, do you know M? But before I even asked my friend, I asked people that went to his school. I was like, hey, what kind of guy is he like? Because like I wanted to know, like. But I text my friend, I'm like, hey, M? And the first thing that he says, he's like, yeah. He was like, Addison, but he's off limits. What? What do you mean? Okay, so right after my friend tells me that, I go and I text him. I'm like, M, like, be honest with me. And like, I don't expect nothing but the truth. Like, it's better just to be honest. And then he was all, what? I was like, do you have a kid? He basically just gets so defensive about the fact, and he's all, what did I tell you the night of the party? And I was like, you said no. And then he was all, no, I didn't. I said, yeah. Go to part 2 because I'm running out of time on here. So basically, he was just trying to make it seem like I was doing something wrong when literally you're lying about a human being. And he was just like, Addison, you talk too much. I don't think this is gonna work. And I'm just like, good. Like, I'm a kid myself. I'm not trying to be with someone that already has a kid, So basically, we ended things, and we haven't talked since. And we unfollowed each other off everything. And it was just like, I don't know if it was because like he's D1 and like, I don't know if you get in trouble for having a kid when you're D1 or what. But like, yeah, me and him are no more.